Alright everybody, I'm just gonna come out and say it that this was supposed to be a Christmas themed video, but YouTube just kept striking me and would not let me upload this until like a month later, which is, we're in the middle of January right now. I apologize in advance, I really wanted to get this video out earlier, but YouTube hates me and will not let me upload the things that I want to make. And since I'm redoing the intro of this video anyway, I thought I'd leave this little portion here for people who really care about spoilers. Skip ahead to this part so we can just go into the movie together and let the story unfold naturally. Otherwise, you've been warned. Bigfoot, UFOs, furries, aliens that come out of people's assholes, all of which are the subject of these two movies that we're going to be talking about today. 2003's adaptation of Stephen King's worst novel, Dreamcatcher, and 2017's Pottersville, which is a movie by all accounts that should not exist. No one should have made this movie, and I had a really long intro for this, but it's kind of redundant, and I got bored of editing it, so we're just going to do an abridged version. And the most important thing that you need to know is that Dreamcatcher specifically is written by two Oscar winners, William Goldman and Lawrence Kasdan, which Lawrence Kasdan, of course, has made a bunch of movies that I really love. For those who have no idea who that is, that's the man who wrote fucking Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Empire Strikes Back. He even wrote Return of the Jedi. And no, I'm not saying that Lawrence Kasdan takes full writing credit for these movies, I'm just saying he's one of the primary writers on each of these movies. And as if that wasn't a legit enough resume, he's also been nominated 4 times for an Academy Award. I have no idea why these two wickedly talented writers wrote this movie. I guess maybe they're really big fans of Stephen King, but man, I don't know if this was the novel to do it, guys. And I could say the same exact thing for the cast here. I have no idea why they're in this movie, presumably for a really good paycheck, at least I would hope so. I mean, all these guys have been in great films, Oscar-winning films, before this one, and now they're in this fucking movie, guys. And this movie's bad. This is a bad one. And this same thing could be said about Pottersville, but we'll get to that one later, alright? But okay, whatever, you guys get it, alright? The stage has been set, the lore has been established, there's a lot of very talented people behind and in front of the camera, which is baffling for this movie. But anyway, you know, that means that it's time to finally dive into the unforgettable world of Stephen King's Dreamcatcher. The movie opens up establishing each of our characters. First, we meet Thomas Jane as Henry, a suicidal psychologist. After Henry, we meet Damian Lewis as Gary Jones, also known as Jonesy, who is a professor. Then we meet Pete, played by Timothy Olyphant, who is a lonely car salesman. And finally, we finish up the introductions with Douglas Cavell, or also known as Beaver or Beeve, as the other characters call him. You're going to be hearing these names a lot, so make sure you remember them. Henry, Jonesy, Pete, and Beeve. Through each of their introductions, it's pretty clear that each of them have varying degrees of telepathy. Henry is able to read minds and is plagued with wanting to reveal more to his patients about what's really going on in their minds, you know, to better help them. Which I'm assuming is why he's suicidal, but the fact that he's suicidal is never brought up again, literally ever in the entire movie, so I'm not really even sure why it's even included. He has a special ability to find lost things, which he uses to help this woman find her keys as a way to impress her into going on a date with him.
If I find your keys, you let me buy you dinner. West Wharf, 6:30. Best fried clams this part of the state.
However, it obviously does nothing but creep her out. I don't know why he thought that would work on her, but
6:30.
You got it.
damn. Jonesy is also able to read minds as he helps a student out who missed a previous assignment.
How did you know?
And lastly, Beeve has like the most vague abilities out of all of them. He doesn't really even do anything in this intro besides like take a shot with a toothpick in his mouth, which I guess is supposed to signify that he's cool or something. He's also able to communicate with his friends through telepathy too. I don't know. Beeve's introduction is kind of weak actually. And I'm not sure if it's noticeable from the clips that I've been showing so far, but immediately you can just tell that something is wrong with this movie. The performances are just strange. The dialogue is awkward and clunky, and the exposition isn't subtle at all.
How could you know what happened?
Sometimes I just know.
Easy, Trish. Maybe I can help. I've always been good at finding things.
Did I tell you my name? I don't remember.
I guessed.
You just gotta watch the movie to really know what I'm talking about. But anyway, Jonesy gets hit by a car. And then we get a 6-month time skip. Wow, that was... a lot just happened. Anyway, boys are now on their annual hunting trip, and Jonesy is miraculously fine, apart from having a slight limp. Then we get some more dialogue from Oscar-winning William Goldman.
Met some lady at bingo, went back to her place. Turned into a pretty nice fuckery. Got blown last night.
Good for you.
Before heading into a flashback, which is where we get a shittier version of what will eventually become a pretty good movie in 2017's It.
Must belong to one of those kids from the Retard Academy.
Whoa, Beeve, dude, we don't say shit like that anymore. The gang then comes across a disabled kid who's being violently bullied, and they stand up for him by way of bad acting and bad dialogue.
I know who you are.
I'm trembling with fear.
Ugh, oh boy. After warding the bullies off, the boys get to know the bullied kid, who happens to be named Duddits,
I done it.
which begins a lifelong friendship amongst the boys. He also really likes Scooby-Doo, but we'll get more on that later.
Ooby doo, where are you? We are some earth.
We flash forward back to the present, where the plot finally gets kicked into gear and Jonesy blows this dude's head off. Nah, I'm just kidding. He doesn't kill him. He almost does, though. Luckily, though, he doesn't, and he helps him back into their cabin. Turns out his name is Rick McCarthy, and he's got a pretty bad case of some sort of a red rash and the fucking shits, because he's just farting up a storm.
Oh no. Oh my god.
Yo, that shit must have felt good. Farts aside, Rick said he's been missing in the woods for days, and he actually had to resort to eating some sort of berry that he found to stave off the hunger and survive. Also claiming that he's having some sort of a reaction to it.
I get the same thing from peanuts. It's allergy.
Oh my god, what is this movie? I mean, I can't talk too much shit because I get the same allergic reaction whenever I eat Taco Bell.
Oh my god.
We cut back over to Pete and Henry, who randomly decide to just start speeding through the woods, I guess.
Better get a run at it.
Maybe to avoid the blizzard, I don't really know. The movie doesn't do a good job as to why they just start speeding. And while they were speeding, they almost hit a woman who's stranded on the cold, resulting in a car crash. Though it doesn't seem to bother them that much because they just decide to laugh it off. They make their way over to the woman. Pete does Pete things and just harasses the shit out of her while they do it.
We get up there and we'll strangle this broad.
I had to guess. I'd say she's already dead.
I don't care. I'll strangle her anyway. She almost got us both killed.
Luckily, though, she's actually alive and happens to be one of Rick's friends.
I have to find Rick.
Where's Rick?
I'm
Don't care. Where's Rick?
And she, too, is sporting a rash as well as letting loose a couple farts of her own.
I wonder if maybe that's how they say hello around here.
They then take shelter and make a campfire to stay warm and decide that Henry will go back to the cabin for help while Pete stays behind with a lady to watch over her. Which, by the way, we gotta stop leaving Pete alone with women. This dude is a fucking creep. Anyway, back at the cabin, the guys let Rick get some rest and then laugh behind his back about how much he's fucking farting and stinking up the place.
Fuck me, Freddy. Give me some air.
We got any gas masks, Sandy? We need a biohazard team in here.
And from there, they notice a bunch of animals seemingly fleeing from something off screen. They also notice these animals are infected with the same rash that we saw before in both Rick and the lady out with Pete.
Look, what's all that red stuff on their fur?
Just like McCarthy's cheek.
Which then I guess means that all these animals are also suffering from the fucking fart rash. So does it just smell like ass out here and all these animals are just crop dusting each other? Like, what are we doing here, guys? What is this? Go inside. As these two ingest all this ass ham, they look to the sky and see a military helicopter flying overhead. And the pilots now basically tell them that they're in quarantine inside this big fart bubble and that they're not allowed to leave. Yeah, I wish I was joking too when I said that. And here we catch our first glimpse as Morgan Freeman as one of the story's antagonists. Colonel Abraham Curtis, apparently. I forgot his name. I had to look it up. Anyway, Beeve gives the guy the finger and he flies away. And I gotta say, so far the movie is pretty intriguing. Like, the setup is there. I mean, you have people lost in the woods, obviously infected with something that makes them fart a lot, I guess.
Oh my god.
A rash that also seems to plague the nearby animals too, military helicopters, people being quarantined, not to mention that these guys also have like psychic abilities. Like I said, it is pretty intriguing. I think the setup is fairly solid from like an entertainment point of view. I didn't say the setup was good, but intriguing, probably in all the wrong ways. And obviously, being confused by all this, the guys go back inside to check on Rick, only to see a trail of shit blood leading to the bathroom. Lovely.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, we got some work to do now.
They then bust down the door to check on Rick, only to find the dude is dead atop the toilet and the bathroom completely covered in more shit blood. They even slip on some of it, man. Oh my god. I also love Bee's reaction. I mean, look at him. He doesn't even know what to do with all this.
Oh, fuck. Oh, man. I don't want to see this, Jonesy. Man, I can't see this. Shut up a minute.
Rick's corpse then shits something into the toilet bowl.
Rick, can you hear me? I think he's dead.
Bullshit he is. He just dropped a clinker. I heard it.
And falls over, exposing his exploded ass. What the hell? Good God. What is this movie?
Ah! It's hideous, but beautiful in an ugly way.
Right. How could I forget? Anyway, with Beeves' quick thinking, he sits on the toilet seat and traps whatever is inside. I do love this little moment between the two of them, though, right before he sits on it. Like, why did he have to tell him no?
No.
Jonesy had to fucking talk to him like he's a kid.
No.
it just me or is this scene like really awkward? Though to Jonesy's not as quick thinking, he decides the best course of action is to get duct tape from the shed outside to seal the toilet shut. Duct tape. That's the best thing you could have came up with. Not just, find something in the cabin that could wait on the seat, or, I don't know, the fucking gun that you had a couple minutes ago? No. Why would it be something reasonable? Let's get fucking duct tape. Yeah, good idea, duct tape. Real nice.
You get the tape, Jonesy.
Sit tight, buddy.
And, just to rewind for a second, what the fuck? These two dudes are fending off a creature inside of a toilet bowl because this guy shat himself to death. And obviously, this all goes as well as you'd think it would. With Beav now off the toilet, we're finally introduced to something I don't think I'd ever imagine myself saying or seeing, but it's called a shit weasel, apparently. Yeah, that's their real name, shit weasel.
This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would.
No, the weasel, not Beav. Whatever. The alien shit monster kills Beav just as Jonesy closes the door on it, trapping it in the bathroom. Again, not a sentence I thought I'd ever say, but here we are. Too bad it doesn't really matter though, because the shit weasel is a fucking genius and breaks the doorknob from the inside and slithers behind Jonesy. And, naturally, Jonesy turns around to see where it went and sees a fucking alien. What? Oh, and then its head explodes into a red mist that Jonesy then absorbs. Normal stuff at this point for this movie. So right here, I paused the movie just to see how much time was left because, this was a lot. This movie is 2 hours and 13 minutes, and we're only 50 minutes in. I'm very intrigued, but also afraid of where else this movie is going. Especially now because Morgan Freeman shows up with comically large white eyebrows and a fleet of military troops, complete with a stereotypical military drum backing. I don't like where this movie's going. We then cut back to Jonesy, who's been taken over by the alien, promptly named Mr. Gray, and this is our first scene with Mr. Gray. But not to be alarmed, because Jonesy is actually still alive, deep within his own body, just not in control. Think of it sort of like the sunken place in Jordan Peele's Get Out. And he's got an English accent for some reason now, too.
Let me in. What have you got in that part of your mind, Professor? I want to know who warned you about me, and who taught Pete that nifty trick.
I don't know where the hell that came from, but the alien from outer space is British, I guess.
What was that, Mr. Jones? What did we just pass on the road there?
What was that, Mr. Jones?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes, I am, Mr. Jones. Or is it Jonesy? Who told you about me?
Well, if you want to know, why don't you just read my mind?
Well, surprisingly, you're able to keep a few things from me. I don't understand it, but I'm sure I'll figure it out soon.
How about this, Mr. Gray? Eat shit and die.
If only, right? And before I forget, because I already forgot to mention it earlier, each of our main characters actually has what's called a memory warehouse within their heads due to their psychic abilities.
We've all got one.
Hasn't that place been condemned?
But nobody really uses theirs anymore except for Jonesy. He even talks about how his is so filled up now with memories that he has to burn old ones to make space for new ones.
Yeah, it's just that it's so crowded now I have to throw something out every time I learn something new.
I feel so bad, I got a worried mind. I'm so lonesome all the time since I left my baby behind.
But anyway, yeah, that's where Jonesy is hiding within his own body, basically, while Mr. Gray is in control of it. And here's when we finally get some insight as to what the actual fuck is going on.
The men call the red stuff Ripley, after the broad in the Alien movies.
Yeah, that is a line I don't think I ever would have guessed come out of Morgan Freeman's mouth, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised anymore with this movie. We also get our introduction into Blue Unit, and I'll just let the scene speak for itself and explain what that even means.
Is Blue Unit part of regular Army?
No, boss. Better, boss.
How does Blue Unit operate?
Under the radar. We do not salute. We do not display rank. We do not say sir. We are a force unto ourselves.
Regular Army compared to Blue Unit.
Pussies, boss.
Yeah, we're just so fucking cool that the regular army is a bunch of little bitches compared to us.
And apparently they've been hunting aliens for 25 years.
25 years I've been going out to fight these alien bastards. Show them they picked the wrong neighborhood, knocked on the wrong fucking door.
And then just look at this fucking goofy-ass military room that they're in. I mean, what happened to this movie? Is this even the same movie?
There's a difference of opinion about the Ripley.
Really? What about the shit weasels? The ones blasting out the basement door.
What a weird scene, man. You have these two dudes who are part of a secret elite alien hunting task force or something, and they're legitimately talking about a red fungus named Ripley from the Alien movies, which infects people into birthing aliens named shit weasels from their assholes. What is happening? Morgan Freeman, why did you take this role? How do you have such a straight fucking face? We also learned that Morgan Freeman's character is just going crazy and is following the cliches of attacking his own foot soldiers when things don't go his way. That all being said, I actually did like the camera work in the scene. I can't lie. I gotta give props when I see it. Some cool camera work.
You know where I got that, don't you?
John Wayne.
That's right. He gave it to me. And now I'm giving it to you.
Wait, John Wayne gave Morgan Freeman this gun?
No hard feelings. The hell there ain't.
The John Wayne? What the fuck? What? And then we cut back to Pete, and he's just like monologuing to this woman's unconscious body, and he says he's like not a weirdo.
Don't get freaked out or think that I'm some kind of weirdo who you shouldn't meet for the best fried clams in Maine. Just some innocent fried clams at the West Wharf.
But buddy, yeah, you fucking are.
You're giving off a rapey vibe.
Whoa! What? Jay, what the fuck, man?
And then he just starts expositing to her body and basically explains the entire movie.
One day, a long time ago, he gave us all this kind of gift. Talk to each other without talking at all, just mind to mind. Do you see what I'm getting at? I think maybe our friend Duds is not from this planet. I think Duds is from somewhere else, and he came here to prepare us for something.
Very subtle movie. Nice. Very, very subtle. And then he also just doesn't notice this long red streak that just comes out of her ass, I guess, into the snow. I don't know how the fuck he doesn't see that. Which then precedes him to just have some pillow talk with this woman's dead body, I guess.
And I have the feeling you're one of those rare women who could handle the full-size Ford Expedition. The truck that handles like a luxury car. A really big luxury car.
God damn, I hate this guy.
It's a good idea. Catch a little shut-eye, save your energy for those horrendous farts.
God, I fucking hate Pete. Can somebody fucking kill this dude? Jesus Christ.
Lord, I will never drink again.
Oh my god, thank you. I didn't know I'd be rooting for the shit weasels, but please fucking bite this guy's dick off, dude. I'm sick of this guy. And to add insult to injury, in order to get the shit weasel off of his dick, Pete just throws his crotch onto the campfire. Amazing. This movie is amazing. I love it. And while this is all going down, I can't help but notice, like, where has Henry been in all this? Oh, he's just talking to himself in the middle of the woods. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's normal.
Now, let me get this straight. Yesterday, I want to call it quits. Throw in the towel. Pull the plug.
Oh, wait. No, he's not talking to himself. He's just talking to Jonesy, of course, telepathically. Right. How could I forget? Silly me. This is a very normal scene in a very normal movie.
Jonesy, way to go, motherfucker! Here you come to save the day. Mighty Mouse is on the way!
But wait, he notices that it's not Jonesy, it's actually Mr. Gray, and then he just decides to take cover and let Jonesy just drive off, I guess, and then makes his way back to the cabin. Which, when he finally reaches the cabin, he actually grabs the gun immediately, which I wish that Jonesy or Beeb would have done in the last scene, but I guess not. Thank God Henry's here, though. I guess that's why he's the doctor. He's got the brains. Though, then again, he almost lost that, too. Here he notices the red fungus is growing all over the place, and by the way, it looks fucking disgusting, Jesus. And then he finds Beeve's dead body, his lifelong friend, dead, hunched over covered in shit blood in the bathroom. And what does he say?
Fuck me, Freddy.
Yeah, I mean, of course, that seems like a pretty appropriate reaction. That's what I would do. If I walked in on my best friend dead, covered in shit blood, I would say fuck me, Freddy too. Totally normal.
Fuck me, Freddy.
And remember those berries that Rick said he ate earlier?
Ate some berries in the dark. I think they must have upset me.
Well, we found them because they're coming out of the shit weasel, apparently. And I gotta say, for 2003, some of the effects in this movie hold up pretty well. But, you know, obviously, naturally, Thomas Jane sees this fucking monstrosity and blasts its head off, and then proceeds to burn the eggs. Though, in doing so, he learns that some of them have already hatched, which the next course of action is just to burn down the entire house, which is a little bit of a bummer because Beef's corpse is still in it, so I guess he doesn't really get a proper burial. We then get another flashback where we see the kids finally get their powers from Duddits, and Pete can do this now, whatever this is. So, whenever he was spinning his finger earlier, I guess he was seeing this weird-ass shit. Yeah, this is the power you gotta keep to yourself, buddy, alright? No one wants to see this. No one but Mr. Gray, that is, who now has Pete hostage.
My.
Wait, did I see that correctly? Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I thought I saw. My bad. What the fuck is going on, man? Flash forward to Blue Unit again, where they begin their assault on the Greys, who have unfortunately crash landed on Earth. Silly aliens not knowing how to drive. By the way, these Greys are just really shit weasels in disguise. Morgan Freeman explains earlier in the movie that these aliens just shapeshift into whatever they want us to see.
They're up to their old tricks, using the standard gray boy look, smooth baby butt skin. They project what they think we want to see. But I've had a look at the real thing, and believe me, Bucko, you wouldn't want it marrying your sister.
So I guess they just want to look like stereotypical aliens to us, rather than these disgusting shit weasel things. And you know what? They're pretty valid for that, actually. Thanks, shit weasels. It means a lot. Regardless, they start wiping them out, and thank God for it.
What kind of a dog, what kind of a monster could hear that heartbreak and go in just the same? Well, I'm that dog. I'm that monster. These mothers are as harmless as a fox in a hen house, and I'm here to kick some ass.
And this scene just goes on forever, man.
Please, don't hurt us.
There's no infection.
We're helpless.
All right, movie, I get it now. Oh my God, it doesn't stop. Make it stop. And to combat this extermination, the shit weasels board their crash UFO and just blow it up with a self-destruction button, I guess. Alright, I have to ask, what is this movie's tone? Is it trying to be serious? Because the movie really is playing everything completely straight, but it's so goofy and so schlocky that I can't really tell what it's going for. I mean, do you even know how many fart jokes this movie has thrown at us? I've cut out so fucking many. I just can't get a read on the tone, man. I don't really get it. But I don't really have too much time to think about it because during the Blue Unit assault, Mr. Gray just eats Pete.
No, you bastard, no!
Holy shit, he's dead? That's it? That's all we get from Pete? He's gone? Damn. With his only guide now dead, Mr. Gray is now just stranded, I guess, in the wilderness. But not for too long. Some guy pulls up at Mr. Gray and then he says this.
Thank God you came by, Governor. I broke down here and fearing for my life. Oh, I believe your tailgate has come open.
Before eating the dude and then making the guy's dog eat an alien corpse.
Good doggy. Yes. Good boy. Have your fill. Tasty, tasty.
Ugh, again, I cannot overstate how strange this movie is. And I swear I'm not really leaving anything out. This movie really is just this bizarrely paced. As this is happening, Jonesy is in his mind warehouse trying to destroy some of his memories with Duddits, while Henry just continues to walk around and do fucking nothing for the entire movie. When is Henry gonna do anything, man? Do you know how much of this movie is devoted to people just walking around in the woods doing fuck all? A lot of this movie. But it's fine because we go from someone who's doing nothing to someone who's about to do everything. Morgan Freeman reveals his final plan, and it's just to kill everybody in quarantine. Oh, he's just gonna wipe out the whole town? He's gonna kill these people? He's allowed to do that? You can just do that? Hello? And here I actually sort of buy into Morgan Freeman as the antagonist of this movie, because he gives this monologue about Americans and his distaste for killing them.
They drive Chevrolets, shop at Walmart, never miss an episode of Friends. These are Americans. The idea of slaughtering Americans, it just turns my stomach.
But that he'll do it no problem if it means saving the greater good of the country.
But I'll do it. I'll do it because it needs to be done.
Now, is this new for a villain? No, not even close. Not at all. This is super stereotypical stuff, and it's not even really that well done either. But this scene specifically is pretty compelling, and I'm finally bought into Morgan Freeman as the villain.
So if we start at 2, it can be done by 2:30. And it's all behind us.
Except for the drinks.
Yeah, except for them.
But once he reveals his plan, he actually puts off his right-hand man, whose name I also don't remember either. See, this guy doesn't want to kill anybody that he doesn't have to, let alone kill anybody really at all, unless you're an alien.
Fire at will!
Because apparently some experiments here have shown people surviving the Ripley fungus and showing no signs of future infection.
They say the fungus doesn't take hold in all the victims. Some of them just get over it.
So Thing 1 doesn't want to kill anybody because he thinks he can save them, but Thing 2 wants to kill everybody because he's gone insane. So they're beginning to be at odds with each other, which again is intriguing. I mean, these alien hunters who have been working each other for years are beginning to be at odds with each other because they just don't see eye to eye. What am I even talking about? But like this scene, for instance, where we get this guy's point of view as he's wading through this sea of infected people, knowing that all these people are innocent and are ultimately gonna have to be killed because they're infected. And he doesn't want to do that at all. He's totally at odds with Morgan Freeman's character. Like I said, this movie has a lot of cool ideas that aren't necessarily original or even well done, but on paper and in a much better movie, these ideas could be a lot more interesting. Finally, though, Henry is captured for just wandering around in the woods and having no stake in the story at all, and he's brought into the military camp where Owen Underhill is. That's this guy's name. I found it out. After a very quick talk, Henry and Owen just agree that Morgan Freeman's character is completely batshit insane for wanting to kill these people.
Your longtime mentor, Colonel Curtis, he's gone insane from hunting aliens for 25 years. Now, he wants you to help him kill hundreds of innocent people.
Yeah, that about sums it up. And they break out of there wanting to stop Mr. Gray. As they drive around, Henry decides to take John Wayne's pistol and use it as a telephone to call Jonesy.
Where are you, Jonesy? Pick up the phone and call 1-800-HENRY.
Is this fucking guy serious? Can this movie just be normal for 5 fucking minutes?
Hello? Jonesy! Jesus Christ, I knew it was you. Where's he taking you?
I like how this weirds Owen out so much that he just looks at him like he's crazy and demands for his phone back.
Jonesy!
He hung up.
Give me back my gun.
Anyway, they finally meet up with Duddits and we finally get to see Donnie Wahlberg.
Henny.
And I still can't see him, so props to him and the team because this is unrecognizable to me. Though it is kind of odd how Duddits' mother is just, for some reason, totally okay with these two dudes taking her son away to fight aliens. Like, she's fully aware that Duddits is going to die.
If he's with you, he might die happy instead of in this awful room.
I don't know, there feels like some sort of scene is missing here.
Now go save the world.
Regardless, turns out Morgan Freeman has a tracking device in his John Wayne pistol to find these guys, which is a little strange, but I guess makes sense. I mean, it is John Wayne's pistol. It is a pretty cool antique to have, so I'm assuming he put a tracker in it so that way he never lost it. I don't know why I'm trying to defend this movie. It's still a very weird plot contrivance. This is stupid. Also, let me just say, Mr. Gray fucking sucks in this movie. His setup was cool, and then he kind of just spent the whole movie wandering around in the woods doing fuck all. I mean, what is the point of this character? Other than making me laugh constantly, I don't understand him. He's supposed to be the villain. He's supposed to be scary, but he's just dumb, man. This guy sucks. As I was just bitching about Mr. Gray doing nothing for the whole movie, he decides to also reveal his final plan, which I thought was pretty obvious before, but he's going to use the dog that he force-fed earlier as like a bioweapon to poison the water supply of Boston with the alien shitweasel infection. The final act is shaping up to be pretty crazy though. I mean, we got Mr. Gray, Henry, and the gang alongside Morgan Freeman and Blue Unit all heading to the quarry for a huge 3-way brawl. With the stakes so high and the entire world on the line, I mean, I can only imagine how this is going to play out. Probably exciting, right? What? What the fuck? That's it? What? Okay, alright, Owen and Morgan Freeman are dead now. Okay. Well, with those two out of the picture, a disappointing faction, Henry just decides to go into the quarry and deal with Mr. Gray himself.
Go back to car, Daddy. Be safer there.
And what does he come into? He comes into an alien crawling out of the dog's ass. Lovely. I really appreciate how much imagery of stuff coming out of things' asses is in this movie. I honestly don't think I could have lived without it. Thank God, truly. There is this funny moment though where Henry enters the quarry and there's just kind of like this Looney Tunes style they look at each other moment. It's kind of goofy, but I like it. Again, leading back to like what is this movie's tone, I can't pinpoint it at all. Luckily though, Henry foils their plans, or at least so he thinks, because unbeknownst to him, an extra egg falls out of the weasel's corpse and begins to crawl towards the water. All the while, Henry's interrogating Jonesy to see if that's actually Jonesy in control of the body or if it's still Mr. Gray.
Tell me something Mr. Gray couldn't possibly know. Tell me something only we would know.
And again, cool stuff on paper would be a lot cooler in a different movie.
I don't know myself if Mr. Gray is gone. He could be hiding in here somewhere, waiting for his chance.
And just when all hope is lost, Duddit shows up and then calls Jonesy gay.
Mr. Gay.
Bet you thought I was kidding, huh? Which promptly triggers him to reveal his final form. And remember before when I said that Duddits love Scooby-Doo?
Ooby Ooby Doo, where are you? We are some Earth. We do now.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, we got some work to do now.
Well, it's finally time for that line to come full circle, because he drops this final bar before taking care of business.
Ooby Ooby Doo. We have some work to do now.
Then Duddits calls him gay one more time.
Mr. Gay.
Then gets impaled and fucking killed. Oh no, wait, no, he's turning into an alien. Okay, yeah, then, oh shit, they're fucking fighting. Oh, fuck. And then Duddits kills himself alongside Mr. Gray? What just happened? Okay. And then Jonesy is freed and kills the last remaining shitweasel before it enters the quarry, and the world is saved.
Jonesy.
Oh, wait, that's it? That's how the movie ends? That's the end? Yeah, that was that was Dreamcatcher. And you know what? Let's just do a quick recap real quick, because I feel like we covered so much, and even I'm lost. So, again, quick recap, everybody. So a group of friends befriend an alien who really loves Scooby-Doo. And with their superpowers bestowed upon them by this Scooby-Doo loving alien, they save the world from an invasion of other aliens that make people poop and fart and shit themselves to death, which they then in turn use to birth themselves from these people's assholes. All the while, Morgan Freeman leads a secret government task force of elite alien hunters to stop the invasion before it begins. What the fuck, Stephen King? Though, you know, shitting on this movie aside, ironically, I did not hate my time watching this movie. It's undoubtedly a bad movie, like a really bad movie, but it by no means was a boring movie. It's constantly entertaining and insane to the point of having my jaw on the floor for pretty much its entire runtime. It's crazy that this movie even got made, or that somebody even wrote it. No, wait, what am I talking about? Of course it makes sense. This guy wrote it.
You spell that kind of luck B-A-D. That's a meteor. I'd be dipped in shit if that ain't a meteor.
And again, it does have some interesting ideas, concepts, and themes. You know, themes of bullying, mental health, corrupt militaries, and the fear of those different from you. But it's all just encased in this incredibly bizarre and weirdly paced and edited movie that's, very bad. Very bad, to say the least. I'd still recommend watching it, though, if you like bad movies and this section of the video intrigued you, I guess, if you want to put yourself through that. But what's funny is that this movie might not actually be as crazy as the next one, Pottersville. Pottersville, similar to Dreamcatcher, is a film you should preferably know nothing about before going into. Truly, the less you know here, the better. And just like Dreamcatcher, though arguably it's even more insane this time around, Pottersville has a heavy-hitting cast. It stars Michael Shannon, Ron Perlman, Judy Greer, Ian McShane, and Christina Hendricks, as well as Thomas Lennon. And this is another movie that's absolutely baffling how they managed to get all these award-winning actors on board, considering what the movie is actually about. And with that, enough dilly-dallying. Let's just get into Pottersville. Right away, we're met with the most hideous font you've ever seen in your fucking life, which is funny for me to say because I use this font. And through these opening credits, we're given plenty of establishing shots of the town Pottersville. We can clearly see that the town is on hard times. I mean, everything is up for sale and everything just looks abandoned. But we'll get more into the town a little bit later on. We eventually meet our main protagonist, Maynard, and right away, we learn everything we need to know about this guy. For starters, he wakes up before everyone else in the entire town to get to work early. We see him shovel the snow in front of his own shop, and he's such a good guy that he also shovels the snow for the entire block, even though it seems like every other shop is out of business. Then, when a customer can't afford to pay due to the local mill being shut down,
It's just with the darn mill closing and it being the holidays and all.
I understand it's tough on everybody.
which I guess is why all these shops are also shutting down, he waves it off no problem, offering to put it on her tab.
I know our tab is pretty high, but is there any way that we could...
Oh yeah, of course.
He even gives her kid an extra treat before they head out. I mean, geez, this guy is a goddamn saint. We then meet Parker, played by Judy Greer, who is just adorable, by the way. I love Judy Greer.
Oh my god, I love you.
Are we all falling in love a little bit?
And she's Maynard's coworker in the shop of his. She clearly looks up to him a lot and even compliments him on the nice gesture.
You're a good man, May.
And just for future reference, she's very clearly in love with him and she's gonna eye fuck him like the entire movie. Shortly after, Ian McShane's character walks in, Bart, who's basically the sailor dude from Jaws. He also seems to be a fan of Joe Rogan because all he talks about is hunting.
I got elk steak.
Mostly elk. Well, elk's my favorite.
Is there anything you can't catch? Yeah, a break.
While getting shit-faced and pondering about her existence.
We live on this tiny little rock that's flying through the blackness of space at about, what, 60,000 miles an hour, and there's only one damn way to get off it? If that thought don't make you crazy, I don't know what the hell will.
But again, within 5 minutes of this movie starting, we know everything we need to know about Maynard. He's a hard worker, he goes above and beyond to help others without needing to, and he doesn't really take any time off for himself.
That's because you spend most of your time stuck standing behind this counter. You need to get out, Maynard. Breathe some life, huh?
Suppose I do.
For the next time you want to get a little crazy.
He actually seems pretty content with the stagnancy in his life. But believe me, all that shit is about to change once he gets home to see his wife.
No way. Did she get a puppy? Did we get a puppy?
Yep, he walks in on this.
What are you doing here?
In my home?
And to his surprise, the furry his furry wife is cheating on him with happens to be Ron Perlman, the town sheriff.
So I'm gonna need to ask a favor of you.
Oh, sure thing. Whatever you need, buddy.
You know I'm kind of a big deal in this town and don't think it'd be good if people knew I was a furry.
Oh, fuck. I did not expect this movie to go here. Oh, shit. We're not even 10 minutes in, man. We're not even 10 minutes in. We're fucking furries on the screen. Anyway, Maynard gets wasted with the moonshine that Bart gave him, and he meets back up with Parker and fills her in on the situation.
I went out to breathe some life. And then life decided to take a poop in my face, so I ended up breathing poop.
And I guess the sight of these two furries made him go mad as if he saw fucking Cthulhu or something. He then dons a gorilla suit and vows to kill and eat any furries he can find before stumbling off into the night. Wow, this is the movie that we're watching. I swear I didn't leave anything out. I know it seems like a giant leap in logic, but that's just where the movie went. I did not cut anything. It goes from this to this. Like, this is crazy. Only we don't get to see what he does. The movie just cuts to the next morning, and no bullshit, guys. I'm pretty fucking locked in. At this point, I'm super intrigued and invested as to what Maynard did during the night. I think the setup, as bizarre as it is, just like Dreamcatcher, is surprisingly solid. Only I actually think it might be better here in Pottersville because it doesn't take like 50 fucking minutes to get going like in Dreamcatcher. My god. Pottersville just comes out swinging and shows us this balls right away. Like, yeah, that's right. This movie's about furries. Strap in because you're going for a ride. Although, I don't know, this is a pretty suspect ride. Maynard then wakes up naked and lumbers out into his shop, which happens to be bustling with people. Yeah, that was a pretty cool shot. That was a cool shot. And thankfully, it's not too long before we actually find out what happened the night before.
I'm here with the local townsfolk who claim to have witnessed what they're calling, well, a Bigfoot sighting. So tell me, What'd you see?
Oh my god, is that really gonna be the premise of this movie? Does the town really think that Maynard's fucking Bigfoot? From here, we're given various little vignettes of different townspeople's reaction to this so-called Bigfoot.
Well, we were all out in the woods, smoking hanging out, when all of a sudden this big, huge, hairy thing comes running by screaming.
Turned on the back porch lights, and there it was.
We saw it. Squatch.
You know, like them cavemen you see in the picture books, but ain't quite evolved yet. Out there in our little boy peeing fountain, drinking, and I mean, literally, the little boy was peeing right in his mouth.
Bro, what the fuck, dude? Now filled with the guilt of this little boy fountain pissing in his mouth, Maynard packs up his Bigfoot costume and decides to visit the police station to explain what happened.
Maynard, I'm not having an affair with Connie. There's nothing romantic. I'd never do that. I'm never gonna rub the buddy again, I promise.
But turns out the sheriff is actually busy with a call from the TV producer who's interested in this Bigfoot scandal.
It's just about the costumes.
Speaking of costumes.
Man, I gotta take this. Everybody's apeshit over this Bigfoot business. Later, okay?
So Maynard just ends up leaving and actually runs into these two dudes who try to get him to sell Bigfoot stuff in his store or something.
Bigfoot t-shirts, hats, bumper stickers, baby onesies, you name it.
Everything, and we were just wondering if we could sell some stuff at your store.
Whatever, he kind of just blows them off and says yes, and then it runs into his wife, or ex-wife. I don't really know what's going on between them. I don't really think Maynard does either.
I was wanting to talk to you about last night.
I know we need to talk, Maynard. I just can't right now. I've got something to do.
What's more important?
Bigfoot. I love it. It's the most exciting thing to happen in this town for decades.
Oh my god, don't tell me. Don't tell me that his furry wife wants to fuck Bigfoot, man. Don't tell me. You know what, actually, I wonder if furries in real life have thought about fucking Bigfoot. Oh, that's a thought. Anyway, here though, Maynard actually realizes that with great power comes great responsibility. I shit you not, this scene plays out like a fucking superhero movie. He sees the immense joy and excitement that this Bigfoot shenanigans has brought to the town. The news reports of people being interested in visiting the town, the new Bigfoot merch being sold in his store, the TV producer calling in. He sees the good and the prosperity his drunken Bigfoot escapades has caused, and he knows that he now must become this town's very own superhero, Bigfoot. And man, I can't really get a read on Michael Shannon's performance here. It's just so strange. On one hand, I think he's doing well and portrays a protagonist that you want to root for. Maynard is like the nicest guy ever and seems like he only deserves good in life. But he's supremely fucked over in the beginning because, you know, he's too clean cut, too put together, too nice.
We don't do anything. We don't go anywhere. I need some excitement in my life.
But on the other hand, Michael Shannon is just kind of awkward and, quite frankly, pretty lifeless in the role, other than when he's hamming it up as Bigfoot. It almost seems like he's confused as to why he's even in the movie, but that could totally be by design, and that's just, you know, the character. That's just how they wrote it. I don't know, I feel like it could be either. I can't really get a proper read on it. That all being said, I still think this movie is legitimately better than Dreamcatcher, at least so far. It's shot pretty well, it's edited really well. I also think it's got good direction. I mean, it definitely feels a lot more cohesive and easier to understand than Dreamcatcher because of its better direction and editing. Both of these movies also take place in similar locations, and I think that Pottersville makes a lot more use of its setting than Dreamcatcher does. At least it feels a lot more fully realized. I know in the Dreamcatcher book, the whole town and forest aspect is a much bigger deal than in the movie. And even then, the town and the forest are both pretty prominent in the movie, but are hardly ever talked about or actually developed, you know what I mean? Like, the townspeople are just extras that are just shoved into a barn for literally one scene. Beyond that though, you never really get a good sense of location in Dreamcatcher. Like, for instance, you wouldn't really be able to draw a map of anything that was really going on in this movie. Meanwhile, in Pottersville, I think you totally could. The town plays a much bigger role in this movie. Just as one example, this past sequence where Maynard walks around the park in the center of the town, he encounters all these different people and locations. Like, he visits the police station and he walks by the old abandoned mill and he sees the local TV crew that he just saw on TV seconds ago. And we also see Bart sitting by the curb in his old rickety truck. Like, all this little stuff really elevates the setting and the town, which is strange that I'm praising this random Bigfoot movie and not the high budget adaptation of Stephen King. But hey, you know, we all like rooting for the little guy. And you can tell that it's lower budget than Dreamcatcher as well. You can tell it's just a low budget movie in general, but it also looks and feels up to snuff with any other feature film. It doesn't look cheap or feel cheap by any means, at least not yet. It just seems like the production team found some random ass town to film in and everyone seemed on board. Sort of like another low budget film, Vast of Night, where they just filmed the entire movie in this small rural town, and everyone was just totally on board with it. Speaking of which, go watch Vast of Night, it is amazing. Anyway, we now get a montage of the following weeks as Bigfoot Maynard brings more and more tourism to the town, and the level of tourism and Bigfoot notoriety builds so much in Pottersville to the point where this happens.
There's a rumor floating around there may be a Sasquatch in these parts.
Yeah, so this guy lands down and he essentially vows to hunt down Bigfoot on his TV show. And the premise of this guy's show, whose name is Brock Masterson, fucking stupid name, is the following.
Each week he goes after some monster. Loch Ness, Chupacabra, Abominable Snowman. I mean, this dude's amazing.
Wait, but like, how is it that he goes after a new monster every week and hasn't done Bigfoot yet? Wait, that's not what I meant. What I actually mean is that Bigfoot is one of the most popular cryptids, right? And you would think he'd be one of the first episodes. Like, it'd be like UFOs, Bigfoot, and like Mothman or Chupacabra or like a Skinwalker or something, you know? Why the fuck is Bigfoot like on season 3 of this show? What's going on?
Exactly. Follow me on Twitter.
Okay. So they bring Brock in and he starts interviewing the townies for his show, and man, this scene's just got tons of funny ass dialogue.
He must have been 10 feet tall. As big as
3 meters.
Connie enjoy her elk.
She's been enjoying all kinds of animals lately.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Oh my god, she's in love with Bigfoot, dude. Oh god, again, someone actually came up with this movie, someone approved of this movie, and then all these actors read the script and agreed to be in this movie. Fucking A, anything's possible then, I guess, man.
3 meters.
Anyway, all the townies agree to go out on a search party and look for Bigfoot, and we're actually introduced to a new conflict in the story. See, they find this dead deer, and Brock is acting like he knows a lot more than he really does. And that's kind of like his entire character, basically. Just a comically egotistical celebrity.
You see how the leg is snapped back there?
Only a Squatch would do that.
This type of injury is mostly seen amongst the deer in the Mount Tambourine region of Queensland, caused by the Australian yowie. I have heard of rare instances where it's been done by its North American cousin, the Bigfoot. But I've never seen it before with my own eyes. Until right now.
But then Bart calls him out on his shit, and then we get this really extended bit that I don't really think is that funny.
Spike will go one more as a promo. Yeah, 3, 2. There's definitely a Squatch in these woods. One more. I'm gonna do the spectacles because it's kind of neat.
It kind of just goes on for a while about how fake his TV show is.
There's definitely a Squatch in these woods. Really be with me on when there's a Squatch in the woods, yeah? There's definitely a Squatch in these woods. That one. Right.
Yeah.
Everyone then heads back into town, and we're met with a full-on musical sequence that is played so straight is actually insane.
Do you ever, dress up like the animals you're in search of? You know, like camouflage?
I crossed land and water and bridge like a bird without its wings, wandering amongst the trees. It left me in a magical trance. My one and only Yeti. Oh, my Yeti. Oh, Yeti. Oh, Yeti. Oh, my Yeti.
Thankfully, Bart interrupts and offers to find Bigfoot himself in another homage to the sailor in Jaws, and I hate that I keep calling him the sailor from Jaws. I don't remember his name. I could look it up, but I won't. And he gives a really good speech about Bigfoot and this town's legacy.
If you really want to put this town on the map, be world famous, flooded with tourists, we got to be the first to catch this Bigfoot or Squatch or Yeti, whatever you call it. Well, I'll catch this bird for you. But you all got to make up your minds about something. I mean, do you want to go back to being the same old boring town or be the Pottersville that the whole world knows about? And it'll give you a hell of a lot more than one TV show.
Gee, thanks, Bart. We'll take that into consideration.
And I think this is actually pretty good. Like, I really like the idea of this small town where nothing ever happens, and it's slowly dying and losing all its businesses, but quickly being revitalized by this Bigfoot situation and the joy and excitement that it brings the town. It's corny and cheesy, for sure, I'm not gonna pretend like it's not, but it makes for a sweet little plot, I'm not gonna lie. We flash forward to Maynard and he's just kind of sitting in his car, grappling with the situation and potentially even turning himself in. Mind you, Michael Shannon, this man right here,
I'm Bigfoot,
was nominated for the Best Actor Oscar for his work in Nocturnal Animals just a year before this movie came out. Not to mention he was also in the movie that won the Best Picture Oscar the same year as Pardersville, The Shape of Water. Yes, the movie where the lady fucks the fish. Again, I have no idea why this movie has the cast that it does. Regardless, he doesn't turn himself in because he sees the TV production team riding into town and, you know, the movie would just end. So he's got to put on a show to keep this whole Bigfoot tourism thing going. And so he does. And like, he really is a superhero, guys. Like, I'm not kidding. This movie is playing it as if Bigfoot is a superhero. Like, there's a suit up scene. He's got to deal with his persona's reception to the media. The townies kind of worship him like a superhero anyway, like they would Spider-Man in New York, Batman in Gotham, or fucking Superman in Metropolis. He even puts on a show for the news, like Shazam, or Batman, or even Spider-Man. But unfortunately, the movie definitely feels like it's starting to lose some steam with this whole TV show element. It's just not really funny to me. I don't really think this Brock character is that funny either. It seems like it could be funny if you had like ultra dry humor and are appreciative of reality shows and appreciative of like corny Hallmark movies. But the concept is definitely wearing itself a little thin in the second half. I'll give some credit though to the scene with the way that Brock was filmed as he's running away, because it looks like the real life shows that this is spoofing, which I'm all for because I think all these reality cryptid hunting TV shows are so fucking stupid, and anytime anything is making fun of them, I'm on board. Though this next part, I'm not entirely sure who they're digging at, because it turns out Brock has been faking the Australian accent all along, and he's actually just an American dude.
I'm all packed. We'll get the hell out of here.
You can cut the whole Brock routine. It's only me.
I am done with this nonsense and this ridiculous third-rate cable TV show that, by the way, is just barely beating the Family Feud. Okay, obviously, I wouldn't have done this if I thought Bigfoot was real.
And his producer ends up convincing him to stay through a pretty sad talk, honestly.
If you catch Bigfoot, you will be the biggest star in the world.
Get me off of this stupid show, right? I mean, if I catch Bigfoot, that's our biggest episode ever. No way to top that. Perfect time to retire Brock, blaze of glory, start doing movies like we talked about.
So what do you think?
Crikey.
Oh man, I actually kind of feel bad for the guy now.
Oh, I know, this face is such a movie face, right?
Such good face.
Somehow this movie has actual character writing in it. Anyway, they head over to Bart's house and ask him to help them hunt down Bigfoot, and obviously he agrees, so long as they go in alone and for a pretty hefty fee.
5,000 to go with you. 10,000 to find him and catch him.
But what about the crew? I mean, we've got a whole show to shoot.
We can
It's
figure
like
it
hair
out.
and makeup and such.
We then cut back to Maynard and the townies, and we see how the town's slowly beginning to eat away at itself. Maynard also learns here that Bart is going to be hunting him down now.
You know Bart. If anybody can catch Bigfoot, it's him. Let's get these unpacked.
Which I think is a really good midpoint for this movie. It's a great wrench to throw into the gears. All the while, Parker questions when the person dressing up as Bigfoot is gonna finally reveal themselves already. Because really, they're just doing more harm to the town than good.
But the whole town's changed. Now everyone's just dying to get on that stupid TV show.
Then we're given some interiority of Maynard, and he essentially sums up the entire movie and this town in a pretty pleasant way, actually.
Well, I think they're just looking for something that gives them a little hope.
Because he's right. I mean, just think back to this scene where Brock was singing this shitty-ass Yeti song. My God.
Oh, Yeti. Oh, Yeti. Oh.
We get a wide shot of all the townies in this scene, and you can just tell nothing ever goes on in this town, man. They all seem so invested and excited to help out. I mean, they've been with Brock every second since he's landed in town, and they were willing to sit through this fucking idiot sing this song. They also always show up to the park and the shop anytime there's any Bigfoot news, not to mention the entire town was also out on the search party too. And like I mentioned earlier, the townies in this movie have so much character. I mean, you have the pervy sheriff.
Yeah, well, we can either do it right here in my office. I'm never gonna rub the buddy again, I promise.
God, that line will forever haunt me. Also, the deputy that copies everything that the sheriff says for some reason.
Spread out, form a single file line.
A single file line, people.
Now these are not toys.
Not a toy.
Make sure you don't touch anything.
Do not touch anything.
Is there an echo out here?
Sorry.
the stoner guy.
Well, we were all out in the woods, smoking hanging out.
Are you stoned?
Super quick side tangent, real quick. That line has always rubbed me the wrong way every single time that I've heard it. Like, why would somebody say I'll drug test your butt? Isn't it a lot more natural and intimidating to just say, like, I swear to God, I'll drug test your ass? Not like,
and I will drug test your butt.
The fuck? Who says shit like that? That line made my fucking butt clench. Jesus Christ. Anyway, back to the whole townies having a lot of personality thing. You also have these two dudes who are business partners and want to be rich and famous so badly. The older couple that own Little Boy Fountain.
And I mean, literally, the little boy was peeing right in his mouth.
These two old ladies who are always arguing with each other.
I suppose the next thing you're gonna tell me is that you had lunch with Bigfoot. Did he ask for his pants back?
Are you calling me fat? She's trying to say that she's seen Bigfoot more than I have. But everybody knows she's just trying to get on the show.
Or even the news anchor that's always completely overpronouncing her name.
Hi, this is Stacy Gutierrez.
Hi, this is Stacy Gutierrez, reporting live.
Like, this movie really does have so much character in it. And quite frankly, it's kind of sad to see what this town was before in its dying state and what it is now in this prospering golden age. Which, again, is fucking crazy that I'm even praising this movie like that. Parker then finds Maynard's Bigfoot costume and connects the dots, realizing that he's actually this town's so-called Bigfoot. And it is played so seriously. I love it. And if you told me there was a scene in this movie where a furry cop, a reality TV actor, and a huntsman are all getting blasted off moonshine and debating about Bigfoot being an alien criminal and how Earth is Bigfoot's prison, I don't think I would have believed you.
You trying to tell me that Bigfoot is really an alien?
An alien criminal who has been dropped and left on this planet is punishment.
Are you trying to say that like Earth is just like a prison for Bigfoot?
Exactly.
It's a prison for Bigfoot.
Exactly.
It's a prison. The whole thing is a prison.
So when we catch him, Jack, you're gonna have to read him his rights.
Yeah, this movie's just fucking weird, man. After a couple more nights, Maynard overhears a conversation with the TV show's producer about how they're just gonna be pulling the plug on the show.
Well, we got some footage.
We can't air a show without any Bigfoot evidence and him running around looking scared out of his mind.
I wonder who this is making fun of. So, deciding to stop hiding from Bart and wanting to put his life on the line for his community, Maynard dresses up as Bigfoot one final time and heads out to face the men hunting him. All the while, those same men are wandering in the woods looking for Maynard. And here I kind of thought to myself, where are the furries in this movie? Didn't this movie have furries in it? Oh, okay, cool, yeah, here they are. Haha, ask and you shall receive. But then I also realized that Bart is drunk off moonshine. Not even drunk, he's blasted off moonshine. And he's hunting Bigfoot, and he's holding a gun. And he's about to see a bunch of people dressed up as animals. I immediately thought that he's just gonna start blasting away and there's gonna be some gory, furry massacre right here. But no, it's not that kind of movie. Not the gory shootout kind of movie, but it is the furry orgy kind of movie, because that's exactly what he walks in on. All these furries are having a fucking orgy and they're trying to summon Bigfoot into joining them in this orgy.
Somewhere else. Jack, Sheriff, come over here. Help me out, huh?
All right, folks. Now, my friend here is right. Now, this is not really the time. This is definitely not the place for the.
Feels kind of romantic.
Hello? What is happening?
What the hell is one of us? What the hell's a furry?
A furry is a person. They're people who just happen to like to dress up in furry clothes and rub up against each other. And I'll tell you something else, Bart. I'm a furry, okay? And I'm damn proud of it.
Yo, the man who does the ads for the UFC does the narration for the Fallout games.
War never changes.
And has also played Hellboy and Slade and a plethora of other characters, including this guy.
Fuck eating food in my fucking restaurant.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa!
Who's also in the movie Drive with Christina Hendricks, so I guess that's kind of a coincidence. has just proclaimed that he loves being a furry.
I'm a furry. Damn proud of it.
And I have nothing against furries. Do you, dude. Live your fucking life. And shit, if this is what furries look like underneath the suits, and I'm a fucking furry too, dude, count me in. I just can't help but see the irony in Ron Perlman saying this, especially because of the whole UFC thing. Like, if you know the UFC and its community, it's full of some of the most toxic fucking people ever, and I really wonder if they ever see this clip, how they'd react to it.
Good, they'll be busted on your face.
No, I hope
it's gonna be fun.
I'm gonna eat everything you got.
You better win your fight, because I'm coming on your ass, boy. I'm coming for that ass. Pause.
Anyway, Bart then gets everybody out of there.
We love Bigfoot.
Lady, once I have Bigfoot stuffed and mounted, you're welcome to rub up against him all you want. Get your skinny little chicken ass out of here.
She's a bunny. She's a bunny!
What?
She's a bunny. It doesn't work as a chicken.
Just in time for Maynard to show up as Bigfoot. And you'd think we have some kind of climactic showdown, but not really.
Sorry.
Maynard gets shot pretty quickly and taken into town, where all the townies, including the furries, are gathered round to finally see Bigfoot once and for all. And I love how goofy it is that none of these people can even see how fake that suit is. Like, the furries are also in suits and they can't tell the suit when they see it. It's just goofy. It's great. And of course, Parker just comes in and ruins the fun for everybody by demasking him.
This isn't Bigfoot!
Of course it is.
Is this really what you do for a living? This is Maynard Grieger. He runs the general store.
To which point Brock just says he's gonna sue Pottersville for making him look stupid, and then he just drags everyone, dude.
This is gonna be my biggest show ever. You gotta make me a star. Well, guess what? I am gonna sue Pottersville. Huh? How you like that? Because from now on, Pottersville will be known as a town of fakes and phonies and freaks.
Which then leads to everybody hating on Maynard, obviously.
Good night, morons.
Real nice work, Maynard. Now the whole town's gonna get sued.
And we can all kiss a happy new year goodbye.
I'm gonna stick a big foot up your ass.
We all just wanted to meet Bigfoot. You made us look like a bunch of idiots.
Okay, wait. Does this movie actually advocate for furries, or is it just making fun of them? I can't really tell. But from here on out, the movie actually takes a pretty somber turn, surprisingly. Everyone's just kind of super disappointed and sad over the Bigfoot revelation. Like, it really is just 5 whole minutes of sad-ass shit going on. The town was so upset at Maynard that they actually forced him into closing his shop and running him out of the town. Holy shit. As this is all going down, though, Judy Greer decides to have a town meeting and tries to advocate for Maynard as to why he even dressed up as Bigfoot.
Well, he did ruin our shot.
Your shot at what?
Fame, fortune, being on TV.
And how did he ruin it exactly?
And she ends up revealing that all those times that Maynard wrote something in his notebook as a reminder for all the things that people needed to pay him back for, he actually just wrote down nothing. He was never keeping tabs on anyone and always gave everything out of the kindness of his own heart.
It's empty.
And the next morning, Maynard gets on the news and gives a pretty heartwarming speech about why he even dressed up as Bigfoot in the first place.
Why do you think this town was so captivated by him?
Oh, I don't think it's just our town, really. I mean, it can be any town. People everywhere are looking for something to believe in.
And we'd fallen on hard times like a lot of other places, and
This magical sense of, Bigfoot, this sense that something else was out there. It really brought the town together. I mean, I hadn't seen this town so alive in a long time. It seemed to give everybody the faith and the hope that things were going to be okay. I guess that's why I did it.
And of course, obviously, the entire town forgives him. Duh. I mean, we all knew they were not going to stay mad at him. And they even pay him back for everything that they ever owed him, which is pretty sweet.
It's truly a Christmas miracle.
Yes. Yes, it is. And of course, the movie ends in typical Hallmark movie fashion. Brock gets outed as an Australian instead of an American, which is the biggest crime anybody could ever do in the history of mankind. And he gets a show canceled for it. And thank fucking God for it, because he was the worst part about this movie. Fuck you. Respectfully, of course. Maynard divorces his wife, but not before she says some really weird shit.
I think you should close up and come home. You can bring the Bigfoot costume.
And right after he gets with Parker, and thank God, because the entire movie was foreshadowing that was always going to happen anyway. Right afterwards, they get a loan out of the bank, and I thought it was to like get a house or something since he got kicked out of his, but then it's actually just to make a world-famous Bigfoot museum, creating a spot in the town that will now forever generate tourism and revenue since the old mill closed down. Which is actually kind of a nice callback because this closed building was one of the first shots in the movie. Though, I mean, if we're being completely real, if this was real life, no one would fucking come here. Who the hell would travel the entire globe just to come to a town named Pottersville because of their Bigfoot museum? Nobody. No one would do that. But whatever, movie magic, sure. And everyone sort of just lives happily ever after. Though not without a little tease at the end. But guys, I mean, I swear to God, I would be lying to you if I said this movie wasn't enjoyable, and if it didn't kind of warm my heart a little bit. Maybe I just saw it on the right day, but this movie manages to touch on the Christmas spirit by the end, what it means to forgive, to mature, to learn to appreciate yourself. Like, I'm not even fucking joking here. This movie surprisingly has some stuff to say, and I'm not gonna pretend like it isn't super fucking cheesy. It definitely is. But Pottersville really is a Hallmark movie disguised as a Bigfoot superhero satirical comedy movie. While also being a family Christmas movie that sort of advocates for furries, but not really. Such a strange movie. I feel like only a child could have came up with this movie. And I also never mentioned it before, but Pottersville actually has a really great soundtrack. Like, there are some bangers in this movie. And lastly, I'll say this, I think it is a more enjoyable movie than Dreamcatcher. I think it's a lot more funny than Dreamcatcher 2. And I don't think Dreamcatcher was supposed to be funny, but it really was. And I think it's because Pottersville had us laughing with the movie, whereas Dreamcatcher had us laughing at the movie. I really feel like this movie is completely self-aware and knows exactly how goofy it is. I mean, this movie has a moment where a Bigfoot hot dog stand leaves the town, and that's supposed to be like an emotional moment for the movie. I mean, come on. All in all, I'm shocked to say this, but Pottersville is surprisingly decent. In my opinion, it's nowhere near as bad as the reviews or Rotten Tomato scores make it seem. I mean, that is a crazy low score. But I mean, if you actually go to the Rotten Tomato page, that review kind of sums up the entire movie. And I'm going to give another one of my hot takes here because I have to give a hot take in every one of my videos apparently. But I think that Pottersville is your very standard, stereotypical Christmas movie. I don't really see how this movie is any worse than the classic Christmas movies that we already watch every year anyway. And I'm not fucking joking when I say that. I'm being so serious. Like, story-wise, plot-wise, character beats, emotional moments. This has everything that every other Christmas movie has. And I don't think it's done worse. It's definitely done a lot weirder, but worst? I don't think so. That all being said, both of these movies were box office bombs, unfortunately, though not surprisingly. And I actually wouldn't mind seeing more Christmas movies like these two being made instead of those schlocky action movies that we've been getting recently. I need more wacky Christmas movies in my life, man, not these kind of shooting gallery ones. This is lame. Of course, respectfully. And if these two movies at all interest you guys, please go check them out. Chances are you won't be bored watching them. And yeah, guys, I mean, that's about it for me here. And I feel like I shouldn't have to mention this, but I will for the sake of it. Everything I said here, it's all love and it's all jokes, all right? I know a lot of people put a lot of work into both these movies, and I never really like to truly shit on movies. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content. Feel free to go back and watch some of my older videos if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Much love, guys. Thanks again.